So I'm delighted today to be speaking to Jim Moginie, one of the founder members of Midnight Oil. Originally formed the band 1972 with Rob Hirst, and then with the addition of Peter Garrett and the renaming in 1976, became the band we know and love. Jim, great to talk to you.
Eddie, nice to talk to you too. Yeah, good morning or wherever it is over there.
Great news is that, we waited a long time to see you live again, and you came over in 2017 as part of the Grand Circle Tour. And you're coming back in June for two special dates, one in Manchester on the 9th of June and one in London on the 13th of June. So I guess, coming right up to date, what can we expect from those shows compared to the ones you did 2 years ago?
Well, I think it'll just be, we wanted to do some more shows. I think we certainly in Manchester because it's sort of unfinished business, really. I think we've the last time we rehearsed for about 3 or 4 months before we did the tour and went through all of the older material and went to play almost every song we ever recorded. There's a couple of hundred of them. It took us a while and realised that there was some great stuff there that I think, what's the word? We wanted to make it varied every night and play different songs every night, so it wasn't always the same. Obviously, you have to play all the hits, like inverted commas, the Beds of Burnings and the Dead Hearts and things, but the ones that people know. But for the rest of it, we thought we'd have a really deep and old experience because I think partly the internet's responsible for people becoming train spotters now. So we people are sort of, if you play the same set every night, well, people are just going to get bored. And we get bored too, doing it. So we try to keep it different. So I think when we come back this time, it'll be more of the same in a certain sense, except it's not going to be the same songs. We'll have a different kind of, it'll be a different set. It's always a different set with us every night. Sometimes we just call it on the fly. And I think it's because the band's got such a good chemistry that we can do that. We've been together for such a long time that we can totally read each other's thoughts. We have a different we have a different horn player this time. That's going to be different. A wonderful guy called Andy Bickers, who'll be playing with us. But pretty much it'll be the same, but except different. So there's going to be like a blow-up doll or a blow-up, huge sort of Australian Parliament House on stage or anything flying over the audience or anything like that. I wish there was, actually. That would be quite good.
But I guess this time around, it's not quite as intense. You did like 70-odd dates on the Grand Circle Tour. Is it a little bit more relaxed now that you've got that kind of, the people haven't seen you for such a long time? Is this time it's kind of like almost a victory lap or an encore?
I think that's probably right. It feels a bit like that. I think to come back within, it's about a 2-year gap, it feels like the right thing to do. I think we wanted to just keep playing, go to some of the places that we hadn't been. We hadn't been to Ireland, we hadn't been to Germany much on the last run. And obviously go to see our friends in London and Manchester too. And just go to some different places really. And because I think if you're in a band, we respond well to playing. It just seems to help everything because we've done so much touring. We just get better, I think, as we play. And we're going to end up, the last show on the tour is in a place called Birdsville in Australia, which is in the middle of nowhere, basically in the outback. A bit like a Burning Man kind of deal, like they build it and everyone comes. So like nomads and in Mad Max and sort of vehicles coming from all directions. It's one of those, and so we'll have, that'll be the last show of the tour. But look, I just think it's just great to see our people again, and we certainly didn't satisfy the demand last time when we were around. Everything was pretty much sold out. So it's good to come back and sort of just see some of the people that we didn't get to see last time. So I hope that's how it's going to be.
Last year, you released a live album, a DVD, kind of documenting that Grand Circle tour, the Armistice Day release. And I think that's now come out internationally and available in the UK and not just only on imports. What's your feelings about that album? Is it a good place for people to kind of reacquaint themselves with the band?
Yeah, it is actually. It was a funny thing for me because I fell over on stage. I had an awful fall in Melbourne just before we did the recording. So I was in a wheelchair when I did those gigs, which was quite odd, being sort of playing in front of 22,000 people and I just come out of hospital with a ripped the hamstring off the bone.
Ah.
So it was quite a funny experience. But so whenever I think of the live album, I sort of think of my hamstring and I just get a slight twinge in it, But It is a really good place to get a feel for the band, because it's live. It's a very powerful thing, and it's really well recorded, really well mixed version of the band, and it's a bit like a locomotive, that band. It's like flames coming out the back going downhill at about 1,000 miles an hour, and you just don't even know how it stops. It has a lot of momentum, and you know, we play a great variety of songs. I think on the album, in fact, I think there's a huge amount of music that we did about. We did several shows. We did 2 shows at the Domain in Sydney, which is a giant outdoor park, a bit like Hyde Park in London.
Yeah.
A really big park, and had about 22,000 people there every night, and it was an amazing experience. It was like a homecoming of sorts. Really, we'd been all around the world, and we came back to that final show. So it was a lovely document of the whole tour, because by then the band was playing really well, and we were just powering along. So we just captured the moment, you know, snapped it, and there's the album. But yeah, it's a good place to start. It rocks along, and we you know, there's a huge sort of variety of songs on the album. In fact, I think if you go to the vinyl version, there's 3 LPs. That's getting back to sort of Emerson, Lake and Palmer kind of territory, you know, in terms of length, you know.
And the name of the release is Armistice Day, and that obviously has poignancy. And I think because the main recording was done on the 11th of November, Armistice Day, there's always this undercurrent with Midnight Oil music. It's not just about sort of great songs. It's the underlying, you know, sense of the words, the lyrics, the sentiments within.
That's correct. Yeah. Look, it's very much a two-pronged approach. You know, where on one hand we're quite overeducated lefties with lots of opinions about the world, pointing out some of the sort of obvious things that are wrong with things. But on the other hand, we're also songsmiths and want to, you know, make it so it's a good tune, so you can kind of get the message without it being wound down your throat. Like, it's a good tune, and you find yourself singing along and not even knowing what the thing's about. That can happen with our music. Someone thought Beds of Burning was about sex. Well, you know, don't put someone American. It's actually about Aboriginal land rights, you know, so, but because it had the word bed in it, of course, they sort of totally got it wrong. That's the dilemma of being in this sort of band, is that the challenge for us is to make the music sound really good and have great songs and great cracking tunes, but also to have lyrics where people are, it's like having a conversation with the audience. It isn't so much banging them over the head with politics or what we think is important. It's just something, the most important thing is to sort of talk about things that have a conversation with people about it. They don't necessarily have to agree with us about everything. I think part of the whole appeal of the band is that we leave that fairly open, and people can come into it. And it sort of means a lot, especially in Australia, I think, more than anywhere. But the band seems to sort of encapsulate a certain idealism and sort of a lost world of, you know, everything seems to be sort of muddy these days. And the message of Midnight Oil is quite clear, you know. So, you know, it's a funny sort of thing to be in a band like that, but somehow it all makes sense to us anyway. So it's great to sort of talk about things and Aboriginal land rights or environment or all of those things. And these days people get a bit cynical about that stuff, don't they? But I think the whole point of the band is we just talk about that, and they're in the songs, you know. And early on we realised that it was better to sing songs like that for us, for the people in the band, rather than, you know, Beep Bop Lula or, you know, La La La, Baby I Love You kind of stuff. Not that I'm knocking that at all. I mean, I'm stuck for a good song. It doesn't matter what it's about. If you have a chance to talk about your local area and what you're doing in the area, the community, what's happening, then it's a good thing, you know. And you can, you know, local place names, sure, throw them in, you know. Sort of throwing great, you know, Benny Lane and all that sort of stuff. I mean, it's great to hear that stuff about other cultures.
It becomes thought-provoking. I mean, like Truganini. I mean, over here we sort of see that. I said, well, what's that? And then you go and look it up. The rich thing about Aboriginal culture and how the natives were treated, and it's just combining those two things. You know, inspiring curiosity, inspiring knowledge, and using music as a vehicle.
Yeah, look, well, you know, we're playing before we come overseas. We're playing in Canberra at the Reconciliation Day in Canberra, which is the national capital, where all the politicians hang out, you know, so we're going to go and make a bit of a noise down there, rattle the bars a bit. We have sort of that sort of theme running through it. It's interesting how it piques people's curiosity that you can say a name like Truganini and people will go, well, either, who cares, or that's really interesting, well, you know, I'll find out about that, you know. And she was the last remaining person, well, apparently the last woman, full-blooded Aboriginal anyway, in Tasmania. Before, they were basically all exterminated and chased into sort of the wild parts of the country. In 30 years, they basically killed most of the people there, settlers. And it was just a big massacre in Australia, really, all over the country. It wasn't just Tasmania. It was one of the problems with Australia, I think, is the people. It's somehow in their character that we know what happened, but we don't talk about it. It's not taught in schools. It's absolutely not in the history of the country. And I think until there's a sense that we face up to that somehow the country will never grow on. That I feel that about the country. That's my personal view.
It has parallels in other countries as well.
Yeah, we found that when we went up into Inuit people and First Nation people in Arizona and people like that. We'd find it everywhere, even in Africa when we've travelled around. So yeah, the message just has a resonance all around the world. And we were so surprised that Diesel and Dust, an album which was about concerning Aboriginal life and landscape and Aboriginal issues in a way, resonated all around the world. Who would have thought? It's certainly not Beat Bobalula, that's for sure. It was lovely that people got it. They seemed to get the poetry of the way it was expressed, I think, as much as anything else. So it was quite a surprise for us that was the album that kind of really took off. And it just connected in some way.
Whether it's like US forces or when generals talk, there's still this resonance.
We always had that sort of slightly more American sort of thing. I had a cousin whose husband hated the fact that we sang a song about US forces and never talked to me again.
Yeah. And
I was responsible for writing most of it, so I couldn't say, well, someone else in the band wrote it. It has to be said, it's almost like just naming the elephant in the room. Sometimes with music, it's like, well, we know what's going on, but have we really talked about it? And are we all part of that discussion? Our music's all just a conversation with our audience.
Definitely inspiring music, Jim. And we're really looking forward to seeing you over here again in June.
I can't wait. Yeah. All right, mate. Lovely to speak to you.
Cheers.
Enjoy the rest of your fantastic. Thank you.
Cheers. Goodbye.